Hey everyone, Panem here again. Today, we've got our third episode of NDD, the new Duelist deck series that I started, a month or two ago. We basically have one episode a month where I open a new Duelist, so basically the target audience for Yu-Gi-Oh, which is, a child, would be able to afford. So it's basically about $20 a month, usually because of like allowances and stuff like that. So this month we had a tin that came out, and we had the special edition of Code of the Duelist. And I thought to myself, would I want to get the tin or the special editions if I was a child? Obviously, I went with the tin for a child, but then I thought to myself, what if older player would have just given an empty tin to the kid? Well, the kid wouldn't have bought a tin that he doesn't really want anything inside except for the box that looks pretty. So I ended up just keeping a tin aside from one of my previous openings, and I got myself two of these Code of the Duelist Special Edition boxes for the beginner deck. So up to now, all we had opened for this deck were the two Link Strike starter decks, and we had opened a few booster packs in which we were lucky enough to get some misprints, which was pretty cool. And so this deck is pretty weak, but it can still play it pretty well, actually. I've tested it once or twice already, and it has some actual like playability, which is pretty nice. Very enjoyable to play. And we have some Link monsters that we got previously through pack opening and trades. So yeah, we are allowed to do one trade a month in these videos for cards that came out during the month. So in this vid, if we do any trades with the cards we pull, it would be for cards from Code of the Duelists or from the Megatins. The Megatins had a few interesting cards, including Fairy Tale Snow and Blackwing Gofu. And the special editions have some very interesting reprints with Solemn Strike and Skullmaster. Preferably, we would get Solemn Strike for this deck because it needs it very much. And for the other cards, well, Mistar is not too necessary for this deck, but having one of those Beacon card, the trap card, would be pretty interesting. So I'll start opening these right away, and we'll see how luck goes. Well, we see we have one of those beacons and a Maester already. Now, hopefully we could get our hands on a Solemn. And we have a Solemn, sweet. So that is pretty good. We got one of every promo card in 2 boxes. So that is very good for us. So Cyber's Beacon obviously will be going in this deck. If you took damage by battle or an opponent's card effect this turn, add 1 level 4 or lower Cyber's monster from your deck to your hand, which is very good in this deck. So we'll put this aside for now. Skullmaster is pretty decent, honestly. It's a pretty playable hand trap for the meta nowadays. So I'll put it aside too, but it's not very useful. Mistar Boy, well, we don't really have any water in this deck except for, I believe, 1 or 2, but they're not the cards you want to see more often. So we'll keep it aside, but I probably want to put it in the collection for the deck, or maybe the trade binder of the deck or whatever. Because, you know, children nowadays just put anything in their binders, and, well, it's logical. We need to start somewhere. And we have Solemn Strike, which will definitely go in the deck. So we have 3 pretty good cards already for the deck, and we have 6 packs in front of us just waiting to be opened for us. So we have 6 unlimited packs. Maybe we'll get 1 Ultra and 1 Secret. Maybe we'll get 2 Secrets. But usually you get 1 card that's more than a Super per box of 3. So let's see what we will get. Hopefully we will get some Link cards that will help a lot, because as you might have noticed, we don't have many good ones. And we also need some pretty interesting cards to replace some cards that the ban list affected, like our famous Dark Hole. That was one of the good cards of the deck, but now we're only allowed to have 1. So let's see what we get. World Legacy's Heart, DD Vice Typhoon, Emerging, Destiny, and Cracking Dragon. Not too good, but not bad. And we have Recall, good. This will be good in this deck. So I'll put this aside. We have World Chalice. Oh, Crowned by the World Chalice. This is one of the only water monsters we have in this deck, I believe. F.A. Angon Mac and Twilight Cloth. So our first pack was decent, but not extremely good. It's okay though, we still have 5 more packs to go. Luck of the Beginner. Let's do it. World and Firewall Dragon. Sweet. Awesome. Wow, okay. I did not have any sleeves set aside for this. Give me a sec, guys. I'll just grab a few sleeves in case we get any more. There we go. Wow. So, this is my 4th time pulling a Firewall Dragon on this channel, I believe. 3rd or 4th, I'm not even sure anymore. But I remember selling at least 1 or 2 of those already in the past. So this is insanely cool. Wow. This deck just got an insane boost. It got a Soul and Strike, a Firewall Dragon, and a Cyber's Beacon in one opening. Damn, this beginner has the best luck. Wow. We have Gauki Suprex, Ancient Gear, Beckoned, Hackworm, and Crowned again. And they just announced new support for Ancient Gears. If anyone out there is a Ancient Gear fan, you should go check it out on the internet. Like, they have new fusion support for them, and it's pretty cool. I'm not a big Ancient Gear player, but I used to play them back when they first came out in the Lost Millennium. That's a long time ago. I feel old right now. I'm only 20, but I feel old. Anyways, but yeah, I used to play them back then, and they were pretty cool. But afterwards, I started playing other decks, and I just kind of put them aside for a while. I might actually start playing them again with the new support coming out in the Legendary Duelist Pack 2, I guess, is what they're going to call it. That pack looks pretty cool. Next pack, we have Jack Wyvern, Speedroid Passing Glider, Galaxy Worm, World, and Mrs. Radiant. 2nd time we see this card in for this deck, which is not bad, honestly. We have Lilybell, Hackworm, Revendred Origin, and Parry Knights. Good. We're off to a pretty decent start. Pretty decent. I mean, we got Firewall. That's more than just decent. Next pack. World Legacy Heart, Merging, Destiny, and Heavy Storm Duster. Nice. I don't remember if we had one already or not. I'll put it aside for now, but it's still pretty good, and even for the trade binder, it's more than nothing. So it's pretty interesting. And I am saying trade binder, but obviously I don't have any binders aside for this new Duelist deck series that I have. So I will probably just use a tin that I have aside somewhere. The tin I mentioned at the beginning of the video, actually. So next pack, 2nd to last, and we see Junk Breaker, Jane, and Gauki Rematch, super rare, with Gauki Risk Scorpio, Crowned Samurai Skull, Treasure Panda, and Orbital Hydrolander. So that was a normal pack, pretty much. We did get some Gauki support here in this vid, and we got some Gauki support in our latest vid for this set. Well, in the previous NDD series, I would have to say, actually. So yeah, maybe we could try to use a Gauki engine in here. Not sure yet, but we might be able to. Last pack. May the beginner's luck be with us. Heart of the cards, give us something awesome and shiny. Salvagent Driver, ultra rare. It's not the shiny I was looking for, but it is a shiny. So it's our 2nd time getting that card for this series that I've been running. It's not a big card that everyone should want, but one of, in a deck of Link monsters, Cyber's Link monsters, is not a bad start, actually. So I'm not going to complain. So for the moment, we have these 3 that will be added for our collection. Probably Salvagent Driver will also be heading for the trade binder, so that's not a bad thing. I mean, these 2 do have some interest, and Gauki Rematch and Cracking, well, they're all foils that are pretty cool. And for the other foils that and other interesting cards that we might add to the deck, we have Heavy Storm Duster if we did not already have it, Mrs. Radiant, because why the hell not? We have Soul and Strike because we obviously need this. This could probably replace the Dark Hole. Skullmaster is a pretty decent hand trap, but we might not need it, although it does have 1700 attacks, so I'll put it aside with the Heavy Storm. Cyber's Beacon is a must-have in this deck. You really need this because a lot of times you end up with an empty field for your opponent to attack into, and this will allow you to search. Or even when you play against some decks that have more or less burn damage in it, well, this does allow you to search for lower attack monsters in the deck. And we have Recall, which, if it's not already in the deck, we will add it. So we have 2 auto-includes, we have 3 maybes, and we have 2 monsters for our extra deck. So definitely going to look into that. We also have our older extra deck, well, not extra deck, but this is the pile of cards that were left after the last vid. So we have quite a lot of cards here. Not a lot of them are good, but they are still options for the deck. So I will be arranging this deck. I'll be working on it for a little bit, and I'll be back in the second half of this vid. For you guys, it won't appear like a big time difference or time lapse or anything, but for me, it might be a few minutes in real life. So I'll see you guys pretty soon, and yeah, see you in a sec. Okay, so the changes are going to be quite simple. After all, we're just going to take out 1 trap, 1 spell, and 1 monster. This because it felt slow in the little games I played with it. This because it's now limited to 1 on the ban list. And Fiendish Chain because we have some other traps we can do the same job. And what we'll add is Book of Moon because it is somewhat relevant. And we don't have that many spells, so if we're going to take out 1, it's probably a better idea to actually keep going and still use some more spells. We're also going to add Cyber's Beacon and Solemn Strikes because those 2 cards are going to be very relevant. And here we have the empty Megaton. So this is, as I mentioned, a little gift that some other player from the neighborhood or whatever, just a gift from a older player to a younger player. And as I mentioned, there was also the possibility of doing a trade, which happens only once a month. And so I decided to actually proceed and do a trade quickly. So from the Megaton in question, we had a Proxy Dragon, which is a generic Link 2 monster, which is pretty interesting, and it does have a pretty decent effect. And so I decided to switch it for some other promo cards, which are Skullmaster and Mr. Boy. So I doubt it would be too, I mean, it is fair, I guess. But I mean, there's also the tin that comes with those, with that proxy. And the only other card that came out of this tin that would have been any interesting for this deck would have been Fairy Tale Snow, which was pulled in this tin. But then again, I mean, I could switch it for these 2. I wouldn't feel bad doing a trade like that with a kid. Although I do feel like they would lose, so I guess I would probably add Salvage It Driver. So let's say that we trade these 3 cards away to a different player than our little beginner here in our little story. And the beginner gains a Snow and a Proxy. So the new extra deck would be 2 Link Spiders, 2 Mrs. Radiant, 1 Proxy Dragon, 2 Honeybots, 2 Decode Talkers, 1 Gaia Saber, and 1 Firewall Dragon. For a total of 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards. We still have space for 4 more, which is honestly not a bad start. For our traps, we have Solemn Strike mixed with a Bottomless and a Torrential, which does give us some pretty decent anti-summoning support. We have Heavy Stormduster, which is good for stopping spells and traps or just destroying back row. We also have Compulsory, which is pretty generic and decent, just like Ring of Destruction, which allows a lot of combos actually. We have Dark Bribe and Recall, which can negate spell, traps, and effect monsters. but they do allow your opponent to draw, which is not the best thing for usually any type of relevant game, but it's still not a bad card. Sometimes you'd want to push the game or something. It's pretty useful, honestly. We have two Mirror Forces because they are the poor man's dark hole. We have Call of the Haunted and Cyber's Beacon because searching and special summoning is very important, especially in Link centric deck, let's say. So we have Book of Moon, United We Stand, Mystical Space, Forbidden Lands because it affects attacks and it does protect. We have two Signet Universes with one Terraforming. Honestly, two Terraformings would just be too much. You don't have that many cards that allow you to discard in here. And we have one Dark Hole because we need to destroy the opponent's monsters, and our monsters are not that good at doing it. We have Snow, which was just acquired in the trade previously. And, not sure yet what I'm going to switch out for it. But we have Parry Knight once. We have Ram Clouder twice. Maybe switch out one of those. We have Link Slayer twice also. We have Photon Thrasher twice. Yep. We have one Salvagent Driver because you never know, it might be very useful. And we have a lot of Cybers Link monsters, especially with the addition of Firewall. I mean, that's another Cybers right there. So, I mean, we do have quite a few Cybers monsters in here, which can be pretty interesting to use with Salvagent. We have Cyber Dragon once or twice? Once. We also have two Marauding Captains because they allow you to go into Link 2s pretty quick. We have two Bittron and one Crowned by the World Chalice. Honestly, I would prefer having another card than World Chalice in here, but it's still a pretty decent defense position monster in this deck. And you do need 3 normal monsters that are level 2 or lower because we run 2 Draconet. When this card is normal summon, you can special summon a level 2 or lower normal monster from your hand or deck in defense position. So it's a Link 2 automatically, and if you had Photon in your hand at the beginning of the turn, well, you just got yourself a Link that is 3 and up. Because you never know, if you do have combos, you can use Link Spider with one of these, special summon another one of your normal monsters. Depends on your hand, but using a 3-card combo, you can go into a Link 4. Considering that this deck is not something supposed to be that good, but rather something for a beginner, that's pretty decent, honestly. We have Sangan because it allows you to search for your hand traps, and here you have your hand traps. 2 Effect Veilers because they are the poor man's hand trap that can stop effects. And we have 1 Battle Fader because stopping your opponent from attacking and then allowing you to go into your Link monsters on your own turn. Very, very much so interesting for this deck. So here we have a basic deck profile for the new Duelist deck series with a small, incomplete extra deck, a decent playable main deck, and we have somewhat a lot of cards left in the collection. So yeah, we also have Fairy Tale Snow, which will be included for the next NDD. Not sure yet what I will replace for it in this deck, but for now, this is what it is. NDD episode 3, I believe, is now over, and you guys have seen how a new Duelist can become even better in just a few months. Like, in a couple of months, the Duelist already has a deck that has a decent extra deck that can summon powerful monsters somewhat consistently, and they have lots of cards to negate effects, they have lots of cards to special summon, they have lots of different combos. Obviously, they are not the best combos. I mean, you will have some cloggy hands, sometimes bricky, sometimes also you'll just get wrecked by a Dark Hole your opponent played, or Kaiju Slumber, or anything tricky like that, and you'll just get locked out because you don't have any outs to it. But that's what happens when you have a basic starter deck, basically. I mean, it's a starter deck. You need to increase its capabilities to get it anywhere near competitive. But for now, after 2 months, I feel that this deck is ready to at least play at locals. Maybe it's not going to be great, but at least it's not going to be horribly bad. And I do feel like when the next starter deck will come out with more Link monsters, and obviously some good reprints in them were announced. At least in the OCG, I've not heard of what it will look like in the TCG yet, but that will 100% help this deck out for sure. And we'll see by then how links are. I think that they've pretty much incorporated themselves into the meta pretty well, like very well. World Chalices are not top tier, but they are getting somewhere. They are noticed, and everyone's already very excited with the Spiral Link monster. And a lot of decks have started using Firewall as a turbo to try and get some pretty crazy, insane boards easily on the field, and just spam your opponent with lots of random effects once in a while. So I feel like Link monsters are getting pretty, like, they're establishing their way into the meta, and I'm pretty happy about that. I do like Links. I was never against Links, and I'm pretty glad to see that people who stayed actually do enjoy Links more than not at all. So yeah, that was my little 2 cents. I just had to share that. But yeah, so we had some insanely good luck opening 2 special editions and getting an ultra rare and a secret rare, especially since that secret rare was Firewall. That was insanely good luck for this new Duelist deck series. And I hope you guys will like this, and if there are any new Duelists out there watching this, do keep trying, because honestly, everything can be achieved if you give it a shot at Yu-Gi-Oh! And even if you don't succeed as quickly as this series gives the impression that it should go fast, well, don't worry, you'll get there sometime. And usually people at locals, maybe not big events, but locals, are nice, and they will help you out if you have any troubles with strategies, if you have any situations where you'd rather learn more about Yu-Gi-Oh! Or if you want to get some tips about decks and everything. YouTube is a good place to look, but locals are always the first resource you should use to get to know what's going on around you. So yeah, really highly recommend anyone to go to locals, to give local shops support. Obviously, they need your support. They literally live off your entertainment. I mean, they do need you. And you somewhat need them. Otherwise, you would be stuck playing with random people you met on the internet. It's actually way fun to play with people face to face, and I really like that. That's the one thing that really kept me in this game. It's the interactions, because you don't get to interact as much with people in different games, like video games. But yeah, I'll stop just blabbering about anything. I'll end this episode for today, and I hope to see you guys next time. I got lots of opening videos coming your way, and I also have one more episode of NDD every month for you guys around the last week of each month, so you guys can see how a new Duelist can improve in one purchase a month. So just let that sink in, and when this deck will be good, you guys will realize that in a year, a player can start from scratch and still become at least capable of winning locals. That's the goal of this series, and I hope you guys will stay for until the end of the series, because it really looks like a fun challenge. And if you guys want to challenge yourself, try it out. It's really, really fun. Honestly, trying this deck against other decks, it's just very interesting to see how it evolves every month. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next vid. Like the video if you want to see more of this. If you don't want to see more, well, leave a constructive comment down below to tell me why you'd want to see some different kind of content. I'm always open to ideas. Share the video if you have anyone around you who also starts playing, or if you have anyone who wants to start playing. This might inspire them. This might give them courage to actually start playing, because it's budget friendly at some level. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Penem out.